We are live,
We are live.
and we're early.
You're early.
Why are you wearing a mask?
Oh, this is a wrong show, huh?
Yeah, I
This
guess so.
isn't coronavirus journals?
Is coronavirus journals done forever?
I don't know. It's a story that never ends. Keeps going on and on and on.
There have been some
And now I
crazy
hear they're like
turn of events.
I hear they're
recently.
like making pills with ivermectin in it, and it's now.
Wait, is it really got ivermectin? It's just like ivermectin.
We should just save it for the next show. But this is a critique the community, and I know no one on this channel is interested in hearing what we have to say about COVID.
We
So
certainly don't know what we're talking about. All right, this critique is on environmental portraits. If you would like to be a part of the next critique in honor of your wedding that's happening in
a
just
week
few
from
days.
today.
It's going to be exciting wedding photos, so not just
like
Pretty.
portraits of the bride and groom or dramatic shots. Like I want to see energy and excitement and shots that were like kind of difficult or the timing was perfect, you know?
okay.
That sort of thing.
Cool. So head over to fstoppers.com/contests if you would like to check out the images and everything from this critique, or if you want to upload for the next one. Are you ready to get into it?
I am ready. As always, we're going to give away a free tutorial for the highest rated image, and you want to do the last?
Not this time, are we?
Well, we were debating this off camera. So the highest rated image is from somebody who's won many of these contests. So
He doesn't get any more.
So we're
He doesn't
like,
get any more.
we're
I
just
don't
going to
even-
give
I don't
away
think he wants
one.
them.
You want to pick a random number, or you just want to do the last one?
Let's do the last one.
Last one. All right. Well, let's go to the highest rated image.
All right.
This image always kind of freaks me out. It's a little.
So we have actually seen this image before, right?
This has definitely been in a critique before, but I don't know if it's ever been the winning image.
So we wouldn't have put this in the critique, being that
We've seen it.
we've
before.
already talked about it before, but it literally was the highest rated image, so we had to put it in here. And this was Felix Hernandez. He said he shot this image in Victor Zaldivar's studio. He is a master painter in New York. He combined natural light entering into his dark studio and a speed light to fill the shadows. It's a cool shot for sure. It's certainly not as polished as much of Felix's work. I mean, Felix is known for his miniature stuff, which is just incredible. But then he also has some pretty awesome portraits of people that are very stylized and photoshopped and everything. This one seems a little bit more natural.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is my favorite image in this whole critique, and I don't think it's my favorite image in his portfolio. That being said, it's got a lot going on. I feel like it's an interesting image to look at. I'm always trying to figure out, what is he holding? Is that like a poppy plant, or is that like some kind of fabric on a stick that you would use for painting? I can't.
Oh, that's so funny. I just assumed it was a paintbrush, but you're right. Now that I look back and see the normal paintbrushes, I do not know what he is
I mean, I don't think that's a poppy plant, but it kind of just reads like that.
I kind of have a problem with the lighting on this. I mean, the first thing that I notice and makes me a little uncomfortable is just this guy's
Demeanor and like.
yeah, his stare and stuff. It doesn't really look like he's looking into the lens to me. Does it look like he's kind of zoned out and looking off
Yeah,
camera?
it's like his right eye, camera left, the one
Yeah.
in the light. It's kind of like down here.
So that kind of bothers me. And then the lighting, it's like I want just a little bit more lighting on the dark side of his face. You know, I want that Rembrandt triangle on the cheek. And it just feels kind of like a test shot before you got that perfect expression in this shot. And the only reason why I'm being so harsh on this is because it's Felix. He knows we love his work. His work is like world class for sure.
You mean it's not because you think you're a better photographer and you're all-knowing Lee Morris?
Well, that too. But I don't know. I just feel like this has so much potential, but it's just a little awkward with the lighting and his expression, and with just like the littlest tweak, I feel like it could be perfect.
Would you prefer him like looking down at his palette or looking at a subject off camera? Do you feel like he's in this no man's land of like almost looking at the camera, but just like 5 degrees off, and it's... Because I keep thinking about his emotion, and I'm like, if he was looking off camera or looking at his work, it might read a whole lot differently. But the fact that he's looking almost at you with this sort of demeanor, it's very strange.
Right. I'm going to try to tilt this down. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right. Let's rate this.
All right.
3, 2, 1. I'm going 3. Get your 3 in there. You agree? 3?
Yeah. This is like...
Community gave it 3.48. I mean, I'm not going to be mad about giving this a 4. Again, I just like all of Felix's work is so polished. And this one just feels like it's in between the right shot to me.
So 3.4 is the highest rated image?
It's going to get only downhill from here.
All right, well, let's head
We didn't get that many submissions for this one.
No? Here is image number 2. I guess we're staying kind of on the creepy vibe.
Yeah.
Well, this guy has a forehead like yours.
What does that mean?
You just see all of it. But then from the back, it looks like he's Rob Zombie or something.
That's called
he's got like
a skullet.
Skullet.
Yeah. It's a mullet where you can see the skull.
But this isn't even just a mullet. I mean, that thing goes all the way to the ground. Like, that's a serious
This image was
hairstyle.
taken by Dan Howell. He says, portrait of a tattoo artist. That makes sense. And painter Paul Booth in his private studio, which displays his art and collection of real and simulated skulls and other bizarre artifacts. Photograph for Morbid Curiosities, collection of uncommon and bizarre book.
I would definitely feel uncomfortable being in this room.
Are you ready to rate this?
I think I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 3 and 4. Do you like this more or less than the last shot?
I like this more. I'm probably a 3-5. I do really like this image. I feel like if you had a big coffee table book and this was one of the images and it filled the page, you know, full spread, I feel like there's so much to look at. I like the lighting on him. It kind of feels natural, like it's coming from a lamp. It doesn't have that like photographer lit this scene with, you know, speed light sort of look. It almost looks like maybe he's just naturally sitting in his room. I keep thinking if I like, my eye keeps going to this Slayer image in the side, in the middle of the frame, and all the natural light spilling in. I almost feel like I want that flagged off, and just the blue light on the right side of the frame over here, the couch and everything, is very different. I think you need light over there so that you can see what he's sitting on and it gives some detail. But everything in this image is so warm that natural blue light and the reflection on the Slayer poster is... It's like the one little thing I could critique about this that kind of bothers me a little bit.
Do you feel like he's overexposed? That light on his cheek is just too much. And this shot is so moody, but then to have almost pure white on that one part of his face, it just feels a little bright to me.
I mean, yeah, I can see that. I don't know that I feel like it's overexposed, but it's close. It's like 1/3 or 2/3 of a stop.
Yeah, it just... I don't know. I think that might bother me most about this shot. Certainly interesting location. Interesting light, you know, the way that we've got the blue coming in from the back right and then the warm from the left. But I agree that frame in the back is a bit...
distracting?
Distracting, yeah.
And you could even take this in RAW and just warm up a super warm image and then layer it and then paint out the blue so that the white balance on the right side was warmer.
Yeah.
Knowing that this guy's a tattoo artist and knowing that this whole theme is environmental portraits, I guess this guy could be like into the occult and stuff and it would still make sense. But do you feel like it would be better if he had his tattoo pen and stuff in his hands, and the whole story might make a little bit more sense. Like, oh, this guy's a tattoo artist, and he's got this crazy room.
Does he have something in his hand?
He does, but it almost looks like another one of these like skull artifacts. I mean, could that be?
Well, it sounds like that is who he's not photographing for a tattoo book. He's photographing for a weird collections book. So I don't think it would make sense for him to be holding a tattoo.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on what the purpose of the image is, shot for.
All right, next up.
What did the community give?
Community gave that one a 3.09.
Oh boy, it's all downhill from here.
Was that the second highest rated image?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
tried to put them all out of order so that it doesn't just go down. But that was one of my. I really like that image. That's why I picked it. Now this image is interesting because it's really pretty cool, but I can't figure out the lighting on this. Why is there? It almost looks like, the technique where you have your assistant in the frame and you shoot a spotlight on the subject and then you take another picture with them out and you blend it together. It seems like the lighting on this, there should be like a speed light right up in here where I've zoomed in. But there's no shadow down on his feet. Or if there is, it's very faint. So it's like he's backlit by the sun. But you would expect kind of like the tennis courts where you get multiple shadows when you have multiple
something
light
fishy's
sources.
going on. I wish this photographer wrote how he shot this, because it is super cool looking. But he did write something, so he followed the rules. So this was taken by Gerbir Ajla. And he says, monks who speak moksha from the cycle of reincarnation. This freedom is a realization of the self's identity with the absolute. The purpose of embracing pollution and degradation through various customs is the realization of non-duality through transcending social taboos, attaining an altered state of consciousness, and perceiving the illusory nature of all conventional categories. Like, I don't know what the hell.
What did you just read?
I don't know what he's trying to say here.
I think I need to seek moksha after hearing all of that.
Yeah, exactly. I wish it was just a little bit more clear. I regret reading that. But from a photography standpoint, super interesting subject. Very interesting composition and lighting here. Are you ready to rate this?
I think so.
3, 2, 1.
You went 4?
I went 4 on this one. This is my favorite so far.
Now, if you thought the lighting on the previous guy was a little strong, does this border it? I mean, it brings your attention to him, but are we starting to get to where, like, tone it down just a little bit?
Maybe. I just feel with the last shot, he was setting this kind of creepy mood, and so it felt strange to have a really bright highlight on the side of the subject's face, whereas this, I feel like it's almost like a religious, light from God or something hitting this guy. It feels like it makes more sense to me.
Is there any part of you that wants some particles in the air to be lit that's coming down? Like, does it feel out of place? Does it feel like
You
the
want to
lights
see the beam of light?
Yeah, I keep thinking
Yeah.
like this has got to be lit with a speed light, because when you read the shadows in the frame, I mean, look at the guy on the far right, if I can zoom in over here. All the natural shadows are kind of being cast to the right and maybe like behind the buildings. But then this guy is being lit from the right with the shadows being cast to the left. I mean, you can see the shadow below him. It's all the shadows are very opposite, right?
Yeah.
His shadow's coming straight towards the camera. This guy's shadow's going over to the right, unless that's like a manhole cover or something. It's kind of flat lighting overall. But then the shadow and the highlights from him are being cast right to left. So
Some funny business going on.
there is. Maybe if there was particles or something in the air that were lit up and you could kind of feel like, oh, the light's reflecting off something, it would make everything sit in the frame a little bit more naturally. It almost feels like, I don't know, a composite or something. Like it's like, Or like I said, you took the picture on a tripod and you had your assistant light, and then they walked out. You took the shot without the assistant.
That's certainly what I assume
and
happened.
then you blended it together. But it could, I mean, today you could have almost dodged and burned something like this, and there's no speed light at all, you know. I can't imagine that's what this is, but.
Next up. Man, I remember when we were in, maybe it was Iceland, and there was a pig in the road, and I jumped out to pet the pig, and it was a nice pig, but that thing smelled so bad. Oh my gosh, I just remember thinking, like, why would I want to eat this? This is so disgusting. And it was raining too. You'd think it'd be kind of clean.
Pigs are filthy animals.
Yeah. Scott S. I've heard that they're not, though. Maybe this is the wives' tale. Everybody says pigs are actually one of the cleanest animals. It's just farmers force them to live in slop. You know.
Oh, this pig was wandering around naturally.
Yeah, I
He
know.
smelled pretty bad.
Nasty. Scott S. says, Craig is a hog farmer in North Kansas. I was always told that you can tell how a farmer treats their animals by how the animals respond to him. I had to kneel down in one of the pens to take a photo of him surrounded by his heritage hogs, and one came up and started rotting and nibbling on his jacket. I don't know what rotting means. Just after the photo, a curious hog knocked over my light stand. Are you ready to rate this?
I am torn with this guy's expression.
I am too. That's what we're going to talk about. Let's go.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Really? This is your favorite shot so far?
Maybe. It just feels very photojournalistic. It feels very usable. I could see this being printed and used in a lot of places. The lighting's nice, but it's all toned down. There's just an element of this that I appreciate more in a different way. I don't think it's like the craziest photo I've ever seen, and I'm still torn with this guy's expression. Do I like his eyes being closed and looking down and having this soft moment, or do I feel like the shot right before or after this is actually the better image? I don't know, but I do really like this photo. It's not as dramatic as the other ones, so you know, depending on what your portfolio looks like, it may not fit. But I think this is the type of work that a lot of agencies and publications would hire you off of.
So I really like the lighting and maybe the post-processing done on this image. I feel like it looks really nice. The shadow side of his face is still bright enough that you see plenty of detail. So you've got this fairly soft lighting on his face. When I compare this shot to the first shot of the painter, I feel like this even feels more like a mistake to me with his eyes closed like this, you know? Like there has to be another shot. I don't need him to look at the camera. I don't need him to be smiling, but it just feels like you caught him blinking to me. But
yeah, I mean,
I still gave it 3 stars. There's still a lot that I really like about this. And
like if he was looking to the right, if he was, you know, looking to the right and kind of like that, his smirk and smile is almost perfect. I really like that. But if he was just looking off to camera right, like life's good, I'm with my pigs.
yeah,
That would be better than what it is.
I think so.
I might agree, but there's something about this overall image that I like this style. It just feels refined and it doesn't seem over the top, and it feels like this is a photographer who has taken portraits like this many times, and he got the shot needed. It's just I don't know if I love the eyes closed or not. I'm torn.
So somebody brought this up in the comments, and Scott, the photographer, responded and says he does have other images where his eyes are open and he's looking at the camera. But he says this is the moment that signified the portrait he wanted to take. He cares more about you know, being a hog farmer and stuff than the photograph. Blah 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 blah. So this is, you know, this is the photographer's favorite shot. So I do respect that. It just feels, I feel like the photographer might be putting all of this emphasis and story behind this that the average viewer of this photo doesn't know, right? So maybe
now, if there was a hog right by his knee looking up at him, just that little element,
that would be great.
It would change a lot.
Because it would look like he was looking down.
Right,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
with
yeah.
him not just looking at it, with him just looking at his knee, it's kind of. I don't know. I mean, this is the highest rated image I've given so far. I really do like this.
Next up.
Let's go to the next one.
Hmm.
This reminds me of a photo shoot you did like a year or two ago where you...
This looks a lot better than what I got. What's so funny about that, Patrick?
Nothing's funny. I'm just trying to be happy and joyful.
Cool. This was taken by Galib Hasnain. Shot this during a photo shoot for NGO where they train people and fit them in field as per their skill set. Shot in a workshop. Okay. Yeah, I feel like the lighting on this is really nice.
This guy almost looks like a model or something. Like
That's
his
the
clothes
thing.
are so brand new, and his hair looks
the
perfect.
hair, man.
And it's got a little bit of highlights in it, and I feel like this guy's moonlighting on the runway at night. You know, like he's got another job that he's doing too.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. 3 stars. We agree. So
I start doing over here.
I want to give this 4 stars. The only reason why I give it 3 is just because I feel like the photograph is perfect. The lighting is perfect. The composition, perfect. I love all of that. It's just this guy doesn't fit this scene to me. He looks like some model 19-year-old, whereas you want the rustic, older, dirtier man in this shot. It just doesn't really fit to me.
But if that's who he is, then that's who he is.
Well, he said they're training people to learn a new skill. So, I mean, I would imagine this guy's like in college.
Do you think this benefits at all, tightening the crop like I have it on the screen right now? Or, I mean, I know it's showing, like, I hate this thing back here. It almost looks like graffiti or something. And I don't know if there's a way to, like, maybe I'm still not
I keep
diminishing
seeing
it enough.
that crescent wrench at the bottom, and I really like it. I feel like that looks super cool down there. So,
but no matter what, if I crop even more, then I'm just bringing more attention to the guy who you feel like is out of place.
yeah, but I don't know. I really like the shot.
Do you think this photographer wore sandals while doing this shoot, or do you think he had protective gear on?
Well, you know, I don't see any flames and any molten metal being thrown around like there was in my
The video,
photo shoot.
the video we did, everyone was like, "Why is Lee in sandals? He's in like the most dangerous place he could be."
I live in sandals. Can I wear sandals to your wedding?
You gotta wear shoes.
Oh, come on.
I mean, you gotta be in a suit and everything.
Oh, come on.
Somebody was giving Elia crap. We just released the first video in Elia's new series. It's free on the Fstoppers channel. And he's got sandals shooting landscapes at the beach. And I'm like, why would... I mean, not the first video is just him in the studio. But moving forward, I'm like, why would you not wear sandals walking around?
Dude, you people that wear shoes every day, you're missing out.
All right. The next image here is... got the atmospheric lighting that I kind of wish was in that other Indian photo.
I'm giving a speech at your wedding, right?
Yeah.
So I have this speech written in my mind, right? And I've run it by a few people, and everyone is like, you can't do that.
Uh-oh. And I assume you can't tell me like even any of it because it's supposed to be a surprise. Is it like roasting kind of?
A little bit, a little bit.
And like,
I wanted to make a few political jokes, and they were like, you cannot do that.
really?
There's too many people who will be at your wedding that are like extreme on either side of the political thing. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to do it in a lighthearted, funny way. And they're like, I don't think you want to be joking about this at a wedding.
Because there's also people at the wedding who are probably anti-vaxxers, and there's people who have gotten the vaccine, and like it's the most important thing. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going down that road, but like there are so
I
many.
wasn't gonna go down
There's
that
so many
road.
different divisions. It feels like in our society that like I've heard a lot of comedians talk about this, how they won't even go do like universities, which you would think would be where anything goes. A lot of comics have been very outspoken that they say I won't do universities anymore because there's too much political friction. Maybe even in just one direction, but it's a weird place to be in our society because I feel like 10 or 15 years ago, you could say like I love George Carlin, and he would always say the craziest stuff, bashing all sides.
Yeah.
And many of the positions he would take, I wouldn't agree with, but I still laugh my ass off. I'm like, that's hilarious, like the take on that. So,
yeah, I don't.
how much of your speech does this all revolve around, or do you can you just pull out that part and like, or is it the whole thread?
I don't. I mean, part of me is like, I should just reveal it now and not do it at your wedding. But the other part of me is like, no, I can make this work. And there was going to be a grand finale at the end of my speech where I was going to show a video, and people were like, absolutely not.
Oh boy,
you
it's
cannot.
like all the things that I've said.
You cannot do that. No, it wasn't even going to be a video view. It wasn't going to be a video view. I'm trying to think if I can reveal my plan for the. I can't even reveal
I guess
that.
in my mind, it's like it needs to be funny, and people were like, "That was great," but you probably never would want anything that you say as a groom or a bride or a best friend or whoever. You wouldn't want that to be like the one thing that people were like, "Oh my gosh, can you remember?" Like you don't want to be like the first or second most memorable part of the wedding, right?
What are you saying that it would be my speech would be so good that it would detract from your special day?
I don't mean that it distracts from me. I'm just saying, like, if it's controversial or funny or
it's not. That's the thing.
If it reaches this point, do you want like people who don't even know me well or don't know like the bride side? Do you want them to be like, that guy who gave that speech? Like, I don't. I mean, I guess if you had Jerry Seinfeld at your wedding, like maybe people would leave being like, man, Jerry Seinfeld gave a speech and it was amazing. I'm not putting you in that category.
Well, you should, because the speech was or is going to be really good. I don't know. I might run it by Kristen, just like the last joke, and it's not. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But Katie's like, Lee, no, like you're gonna start something with Patrick's family and her family, and like somebody's feelings are gonna get hurt about it. And I'm like, it's not. Like, I can't even mention anyone's name, like any political figure's name at a wedding.
You're giving away who I voted for, aren't you?
Well, partly, but
I think it was Pedro. I forget the guy's name, but
yeah, but that was just a small part of it, and then I was gonna do this like silly thing that's not real at all, and that would like everybody would be like, oh, Lee's obviously making stuff up now.
Is there gonna be an insurrection at my wedding? It's like. All these people are gonna come in, and it's like next thing you know, like wedding from hell.
No, it's not gonna. I'm gonna talk to Kristen about it, and if she says I don't think it's a good idea, then I will reveal my speech and my crazy grand finale that has definitely been vetoed. Like Katie was like, absolutely, you're not doing that. And then
you should like I leave tomorrow. I leave Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
To go to Miami to prepare. And you're here for a few extra days, you should like film or like, you should put it down and then you maybe just reveal it on the next show that we do after the wedding's over with. And it's like, here's what I...
It definitely is like getting the crowd involved a little bit and having some props involved.
Okay.
But the truth is now is that I've waited so long to get the props. I have not gotten them because Katie's freaked me out. That maybe I can't even pull it off now, even if I wanted to. I don't know. I'm being very ambiguous. It's probably just super annoying.
Well, you heard what? I'm sorry, we're kind of going on a tangent here, but were you at my sister's wedding?
No.
No, you didn't see what my dad did.
No.
So my dad gives my sister and Sean a gift, and it's like this phallic-looking thing wrapped in tinfoil.
Oh, I think I did hear about this.
And he starts going on and on about like, Lindsay's really gonna love this. You're going to get much pleasure out of this, and you're probably going to use it in the whole honeymoon, and just all of these sexual innuendos.
Okay.
Everyone's like, what in the world is he like?
If your dad can do that.
This is awkward, right?
Yeah.
And then they open it, and it's a pair of like glow-in-the-dark drumsticks, And it's like, I can't remember why my sister would get pleasure out of drumsticks or something, but maybe Sean was going to get pleasure out of the drumsticks because he could practice. He's a drummer.
Yeah.
And so it was this whole thing, and then you open it, and it's like the drumsticks, and everyone was just like, What
did your mom say about that?
See, my family, we've always grown up with this like sexual humor, and so we all thought it was like kind of funny, but like you're trying to read everyone else who may not know my family's dynamics and stuff.
Yeah.
And so she was probably like, "Oh, Bill, I can't believe you did that. I didn't even know about that. That was hilarious." But I felt like there was probably, there weren't a lot of old people at the wedding. The oldest people were my parents, and so you just felt like, oh my gosh, if they're doing this sexual joke, all the young people are like, oh my gosh, your dad's hilarious. But if you had older people in their 70s or 80s, like my parents are, you would be like, I can't believe he did. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like if your dad can do dick jokes at a wedding, then I should be able to do a Trump joke.
Dildo jokes.
I don't know.
All right. Moving on.
Oh yeah, we're doing a photo critique, aren't we?
Yeah, this isn't critique my wedding. That's next.
Let me see this on
video.
your iPad here, because on our screen it's a little contrasty.
It's contrasty on that screen
It
too,
is.
but it's a little less.
This is.
Now this photographer had another image, but I tried this time to make sure that nobody had two images in the critique, and I felt like I liked this one a little bit more. I don't remember if this one was rated higher than the other one, but
This was taken by Timu Andres. Portrait of May, cosplayer and wardrobe enthusiast, shot at Old Hotel Tamer with Godox 8200 plus ambient light. Are you ready to rate this?
I think so.
3, 2, 1. What'd you go? 3?
3.
Oh man,
Give it
like I
23?
want to give this a 4. I guess I'll go 4, but I just feel like, I want the shadows to be pulled up just the littlest bit. That's like my only critique. I feel like everything about this looks so awesome. Maybe I want a little bit more styling on that table on the right side of the frame back there. I want like that plant or whatever to be centered with the chair. Something about that feels a little sloppy.
Where's there a plant in this image?
I would just like the right side, right middle of the frame. What's that above that chair?
Like right here? The centerpiece?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I just maybe want that pushed over a little bit more. But this location is amazing. This girl looks amazing. Her outfit's amazing. I love the lighting that's streaking from the top right down towards her. I feel like that looks awesome. I like the color grade. I just feel like the shadowy side of her is a little dark, and then the shadow on that thing she's leaning up against is just a littlest bit dark. It feels like you could probably pull this back in post. Like I don't even know you need to change anything in terms of lighting.
This is styled so heavily that my mind keeps going towards, should there be people in a crowd in this? I keep looking at the left side of the frame that's really dark, this bar table top. And I keep thinking, should there be like a hand that's like pushing her drink? And there should be blurry people celebrating, and like, I know that requires the production to be a little bit higher.
Way higher.
But you've already gone so far that like you got this.
You just don't know how far this is. Like maybe this girl just has these outfits and then they just were at a cool looking hotel. Maybe there's no work at all.
I know, but I think like when you're trying to hit the highest level of photography, and kind of where my mind goes now, and I don't always execute it as well, but I want to focus more on the production of the photo shoot, not just, hey, here's a pretty girl with some good lighting, I would like to get, and I probably, I'm not really focusing on photography at the moment as heavily as I should be, but that's what excites me the most, is like, let's build the production up even more.
Yeah.
Let's have a couple people in some tuxes, and let's have a couple other women there and put it in a vibe to where you're like, whoa, I want to hire you to do this. And I'm not saying this image fails because she didn't go that far. I'm just trying to take incredible images that we're showing in this critique and think, how could we make them even better? And for me, if you could have a little action on the left-hand side, maybe a guy pushing a drink the way that this is framed up now would be distracting. You know, maybe it'd be like, why is there this random act happening on the left-hand side of the frame? But I also feel like her dress is incredible, and I love the highlights up here on the top, but I almost feel like I want like a strip box or something to light up the bottom part of her a little bit more. Maybe that's what you're talking about with the shadows, but I almost think like the highlights too. Maybe you could make the argument that if this was really being lit by some kind of high window with the light streaking through, the bottom of her dress would be dark, but this image is all kind of about her, right? It's like a hero shot of her in this environment. I don't think it would hurt to have her lit a little bit more.
I don't know. If you start doing all our crazy kicker light stuff, I feel like it's going to kill
I'm
the
not even
mood.
saying kicker lights. I'm just saying the same direction, just also a little bit lower.
Okay. All right, next up.
How much do they disagree with me? What's our community saying?
3.18 on that one.
What's the live chat saying?
Oh, I've been neglecting the live chat.
Any super chats? Anybody that...
No super chats. It's very difficult for me to read this and jumping back and forth. Somebody asked Patrick, who's taking your wedding photos? Do you know her name?
Yes, her name's Lenice, but I'm going to try to see what her last name is. If you look up Lenice, wedding photographer, Miami. It's funny, a lot of the people we've hired, I think everyone we've hired for our wedding, they're all Brazilian or married to Brazilians. So Lenice is like Japanese Brazilian. Okay. Our planner is Brazilian. Our florist is Brazilian. It's just kind of weird that everybody's from Brazil.
That is weird.
But I was going to have Lauren Jonas shoot our wedding, but she was booked the day before. We're getting married on Sunday. Lauren's shooting a wedding on Saturday. She's flying in like by noon the day of the wedding to attend. So I just kind of was thinking of doing what you did. We're like, we have all these wedding photographers and photographers at the wedding. They should all like just do a little bit. But then I started thinking, I don't want to force anyone to work the whole wedding, but I also don't want some little moment to not get captured. So I feel like I need to hire somebody for the ceremony, and then I'd like somebody there for the reception. And so it just got easier to say, like, let's just hire a wedding photographer, but then be very upfront and say, hey, a lot of my guests and maybe people in the wedding are also photographers, and there's probably going to be some other cameras floating around. I don't want you to be offended or feel like they're, you know, competing. Yeah. And so she knew of Fstoppers, and she knew some of the photographers that would be there, and so I think she was just really excited to shoot the wedding. And she's like, no, it won't be a problem at all. We'll see, because I definitely don't.
I have shot a wedding before where somebody hired 2 wedding photographers, and that was so weird.
You were one of them, or you just were there?
No, I was one of them.
You were one of,
and then there was just somebody else who...
Was I at this wedding too?
Maybe.
Did she dress like...
I don't remember what she dressed like.
The cowboy boots, and like she was dressed like a rock star photographer, and you were like,
I don't know. I just... Like... There are egos within the wedding photography community, which is so weird because it should like it's a lame job, but it's like a job that everybody wants. Everybody wants to be able to take photos for a living. Wedding photography is kind of goofy, but there's still egos within the industry. But I don't think that I felt weird because I had an ego and like you need to be working with me only. It was like I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing now.
You don't know where the like lines are drawn and where's your responsibility versus theirs.
Are you going to yell at me that I didn't take enough posed pictures of you after the wedding when this other wedding photography is like photographers grabbing you and going outside and taking posed pictures with you, and now she's setting up the family to do like, do I just stand off to the side in silence? It was just awkward because the client never told me.
Yeah.
So if she had said, hey, my best friend's a wedding photographer and she's going to do all the pose pictures, I would have been like, awesome. Yeah. That's my least favorite part of the whole day. I'll go have a drink or whatever.
Yeah.
But she didn't mention anything to me. It was just this other photographer who would just occasionally start taking over. And it was really weird.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just saying I want to have a couple cameras floating around, especially at the reception. You know, there's always moments, like as a wedding photographer, you can never capture everything going on at the reception. There's just so much. Sure. So I was like, I'd like some cameras to be floating around. I know, like, if I go to a wedding, what are the chances that we're back?
Hopefully we're back right now. It's like our board froze or something. So
Yeah, we are back, so we're good.
all right. Yeah, sorry. I don't know where we got cut out there, but basically, you've hired a photographer just because you didn't want to have a job for all
Yeah, and
of
I
your
didn't want to
friend
risk
photographers.
having our wedding and then not documenting it. So we have a photographer, and then our venue also supplies a videographer. And I was like, we should just keep the videographer. I don't know what to expect, but
Have you seen their work? Is it good?
yeah, it is good. They do both photography and video, but we hired a photographer, and so I said, hey, just do the video work. So we have a team. I don't know. Like, part of me is like, you've been to these weddings and there's so many cameras and production,
Yeah.
like it takes away from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though that's been our jobs.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we'll see, but I'm excited. Like, everything's kind of hectic right now because we're doing all the final planning, and it's like somebody said, hey, I can't make it, and then the seating chart's thrown off, and like all this little stuff. Or I'm trying to do a boat trip in Miami with all the guys, but then a lot of the guys are all married, and it's like, well, what do they do with their significant others? And I'm like, aren't we adults? Can't the women figure out what to do? But it's like, well, this one has a kid, and maybe, you know, or your wife has a kid, and like, does she want to be left alone, or does she want to see Miami? It's like, I'm just like, I don't know what to do with them. The guys just need to be here.
They gotta figure that out. Like, that's a couples situation, not a
But
wedding
where do you
planning.
draw the line? If they don't know anyone in Miami, should I be like, hey, here are the other women that also might have nothing to do?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just like, I'm taking their husbands away from them for 5 hours or 3 hours and leaving them alone in like a city they may not know.
Do people not ever go outside alone? Like, they don't go to a mall or go walk by the water or go eat at a restaurant or go to a movie or
I don't
sit
know.
at home?
I feel like it's...
What do we do anyway? We just sit at home. We play on our phones. That's everybody's life.
Yeah, I guess. So.
Just do that in your hotel room. All right. Can we please get back to this?
I've been trying to, but you're killing the feed.
This kid doesn't look very happy. This was taken by Sanket Kuntale. Oh, that's a girl. She is a herdswoman, herding her cattle and goats and ready to leave for school after the job. Shot this image in Hampi, a small town in Karnataka region of India. Are you ready to rate this?
I am.
3, 2, 1. I'm going 2 stars as well. Something about this feels kind of like a snapshot. It just feels like very over sharpened and lots of vibrance and saturation and stuff. And then her expression is just like, get out of my face, man. I don't want you to take a picture of me. And it kind of feels like an iPhone picture to me.
It does. I really like the framing and the wide, like normally wide angle shots don't work, but because you have all the animals there, like, I'm trying to think how to critique this to where it would be stronger. I mean, I feel like if you could pull the exposure down a little bit, and I know I'm going to say add lighting, and that's like a huge step, you know, like what journalist has lighting available all the time. But if you could just have bounced some flash from the right somehow and just made it the production a little higher, I think this is kind of cool. Like, I agree with her expression. That's very strange, but there's something about this image that still I think is kind of interesting. Her expression does kind of kill it, though. It's like, why are you here? Or I hate my life. Or
I feel like I hate my life could be an interesting expression, but I don't get that from that. I get this like, why are you taking this photo of me?
She needs to feel like more worn down in her body language. Like, there's more, like, I'm really just worn out, and this is like a difficult lifestyle.
Or I'm an expert at this, and like I'm loving life, and I'm the best in the world at this job, whatever. But this look of boredom rarely works on photos for me. But I'm sure we're in the minority. The community rated this 3.07, so it's rated very similarly to all the other images we've shown. Next up. This image seems to have better balanced light to me than some of the others that we've seen.
This guy kind of looks like Pat Black. It's like
Maybe
our friend was a barista. Is that what's going on here?
Cafe owner. So not necessarily.
Is that all this guy wrote?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
no.
You shouldn't have let this in the critique.
This almost should not have. Yeah, I feel like this was a cool image, but I thought I looked at all of them to see that they wrote something about how this was taken.
So I'm just noticing something. Oh. That's a mirror on the right side of the frame.
I just noticed that too. I was looking at it thinking, like, I don't really love this out of focus stuff close to the camera, but now that you see the
I thought that was a light stand.
The
that
Electra
black thing.
Electra is backwards, so you can tell here that this is a reflection, which then makes me wonder if, like, you even need any of that.
Crop past that and crop up to his knees.
Like something like that.
I might like that better. I don't know. So here's what I was going to say before I notice all that is I really like how wide this shot is, and I like that you can see the whole cafe. It's a little weird, though, that the image wasn't shot straight on. Notice how the floor, you kind of see this angle.
It's like tilted down.
Yeah, I want the cameraman to be moved to the left more and shoot straight on so that everything's perfectly parallel and perpendicular. But now that I see that he's lined up against a mirror to make it feel larger, I don't know what the answer is here. I don't hate that.
Do you think this is definitely a mirror, or is this like an installed mirror in the location, or is this like him holding a mirror up?
I would hope it's an installed mirror in the location, but I don't know.
Yeah, now that you said like crop past, like, I mean, I feel like you kind of want to see some of his body, and the cropping I'm doing on my screen versus up here is a little different.
I don't know. I feel like as somebody who lives in shorts and only puts on pants for critique the community, I think photographs of people in shorts doesn't feel very professional.
Yeah, you don't like seeing all the leg hair and everything?
Yeah.
If they're going to be...
And like his Nike shoes and stuff, it just... If you crop this at his knees, I feel like this could be a shot taken in the last 50 years. It's kind of like this timeless shot. But when you crop out and he's wearing shorts and he's got...
It screams 2020.
Well, it just doesn't feel timeless anymore. Did we rate this?
We haven't rated this.
All right, let's move on.
We haven't rated it, I don't think.
No, we haven't. 3 stars. I really like it. I really like it. I like the lighting especially. Really good expression on this guy's face, too.
Yeah, the big critique I had was, you already mentioned it, was just it doesn't seem level. If you're going to do this 1-point perspective and shoot straight down the bar, I feel like right-hand side should just be pulled up a little bit. But with the floor, the floor is so angular that I don't know if you could totally do that. But was there a story with this? Oh, this is the one that had no story.
I don't know.
I think we have more. I think we have 2 more.
You know, it's funny. I saw this thumbnail and I was like, what the heck is that a photo of? And now I get it. It's the basket that every driving range uses to hold the balls. Michelle Ventine took this. I was on assignment to photograph a rising golfer, Marissa Massana. We got some beautiful shots from early sunrise, but as the colors faded, I wanted a different element to create that special interest in the shot. I decided to lay on the grass and shoot through the basket. I shot this with 2 Godox strobes. Hmm. I would like to see other shots from this series. I'm going to Michelle's portfolio on Fstoppers just to see if she has it. She does not.
I like thinking outside the box, and I think, you know, when you thumb through like Sports Illustrated or ESPN magazine or something, you're always looking for images that tell a story. There's both the photographic side of it, but then there's the storytelling side of it. And if you can combine those in a way that's interesting, at least to deliver to the client, you know, whether or not they use it. This may not fit on a spread correctly, but this could also be like the leading image and there's a bunch of text on the left-hand side. I think this is pretty cool. The thing, I don't know if you want to rate it first or just talk about it. The thing that kind of drives me a little crazy that I keep thinking in my mind, would it be better, is if she was lit from the right side and the highlights were hitting her face and the front of her body, as opposed to being more heavily lit from the left side. She's cut out. Like, the effect either way gives her nice shadows and highlights to cut her out and make your eye kind of go past the basket to her. The way this has all been framed is very well thought out. I just wonder if I would prefer the light coming from camera right into the frame as opposed to camera left. And there's some other little things, like I know with photojournalism, you may not do a lot of retouching, but the guy with the pink, that's the only pink in the entire image, he kind of is distracting.
All right, let's rate it.
3, 2, 1. You're going 2?
Oh.
I feel like this is so close to being a 4.
Really?
I mean, I think if she was lit from the right-hand side, and maybe, I don't know if you could put her further away so that you could get the golf club in the shot, and then maybe would crop past this more. I don't know. I like a lot of this. It tells such a good story, and it's so interesting, and it's so different. And it's like you took a challenge. Like, you didn't go for the easy. I'm sure there's some shots in the rest of the series that are very straightforward, you know?
Yeah.
But I like that you took you put your neck out there and did something a little bit different. I like that.
Me too.
What do you not, what is...
So there's a couple of things that kind of bother me about this. One, it feels like this was taken with such a wide angle lens that her head is being like pulled up, and her torso and head are just really warped and, you know, from perspective warping. And then the other thing is that I'm like a very mediocre golfer, but something that always bothers me about golfing movies is the swing. Like, you can watch somebody swing a golf club and instantly know if they don't know what they're doing, if they're pretending to be a golfer. And I'm sure this girl must be really good at golf. I'm sure she's way better than me at golf. But something about her position right here doesn't feel like a normal swing. Something about this feels very posed to me.
So here's the question you're left with. You know this is an up-and-coming golfer who had to be photographed. So she's probably one of the greatest golfers you'll ever have in front of your camera. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that, I don't think you're saying she's not doing her swing correctly, but rather maybe the photographer is coaching her into something that isn't natural?
That is what it
would be
feels
like hey, basketball player, I want you to dribble between your legs, but the way you force them to do it is like, that's not the way they would do it, and therefore...
That's what it feels like. Maybe that's not true at all. I don't know. It just, something about the way her weight is and the way, you know, she's finishing up her swing, it just doesn't feel that athletic. And then the fact that you can't see her arms and you can't see the club, it just kind of feels like it's cool because it's an interesting concept shooting through the basket, but is it that... to me, this feels like a great shot for a magazine, for a story, with tons of different images of her.
Yeah.
So it's going to be in a montage of different images, but is this the cover shot? Is this the shot that you put on the front of your website? I personally don't think so. And I just clicked on this photographer's portfolio, and she has some really other awesome stuff that is more polished than this. And so that's why I gave it a 2. I know it's a little rough, but that's why I gave it 2.
I can see what you're saying. Like, this may not be the lead image, but it's interesting. It's different.
It is different, but does it kind of make you wish instead of shooting the basket, there were just golf balls all over the ground, and you get super close to those golf balls and you make those a foreground interest, and then maybe you do some sort of focus stacking or you shoot with a really deep depth of field and you get the Titleist golf balls and her in the background, and you don't shoot through the nasty messed up looking basket, but you've got the balls in there.
I mean, I don't know how far you go with this. Like, could you, if you had prepared early, could you have cut a hole into the back of this basket and then put the camera into the hole so that the whole part of the basket that's blocking your view isn't there, and now all of a sudden you have just the leading lines of the interior of the basket with the balls really close, and now you have this huge circle exposing her out in the field.
I think I would like that a lot
Like,
more.
obviously that takes more time than just being like, oh, let's, you're working through it and you're saying, what could I do in this situation? But if you were at the highest level of photography, like Greg Heisler or something, he's like, hey, we knew this shot going into this, and we prepared a basket where we cut it out so we could put the camera in there. Like, you've thought about it so much further ahead,
Yep.
That requires a whole different level of photography, but it kind of goes back to the idea I had with people in your set. You've added so much more production value that now you have maybe a flagship image in your portfolio, You're not seeing the back of this basket that's taking up so much real estate. You now have something that reads way cleaner and better in a lot of ways. I don't know. It's easy to sit here in this chair and talk about stuff like this, but I feel like that's what the best photographers do. If you're going to hire the best guy to go shoot this athlete, like, they're going to come up with an idea that's unbelievable, and you're like, wow, that's a badass picture. And you may not even realize as the viewer what they did. You have no idea. They cut out the back and put the camera through there. But I don't know. I really like this. I was earlier zooming in. You can see the light stand on the left-hand side here, but I don't think it's that big of a deal, and you could retouch that out. But cool.
Is that the final image? No, there's more.
This is the final image. Here we go, and this is image number 10. So this is the winner of a tutorial. So head over to fstoppers.com/store, and you can pick out. We just released one with Mike Kelly. That's the last one.
Yeah, and then we also did. Whoops! I just closed that window.
We have the well-rounded photographer, which is like 10 different genres. We have Mike Kelly's newest architectural one.
Yeah.
And then there's all kinds of stuff in the store. So. And of course, if you're watching this, we also have the next contest, which is high energy wedding pictures. So you can go to fstoppers.com/contests and submit to that. Another person who did not leave much.
Julia Wimmerlin took this, and she says, portrait of a writer and a journalist, Tanika.
I think one thing a lot of photographers do, I've never really done this, but they like to photograph their wives because they're the most accessible model.
Yes.
And I don't know why this image is reminding me of David and his wife is a writer, and I'm just thinking like, man, you have this very successful person that you always needs images, right? His wife, Ryan, always needs images because she's an author and she's got these big books that come out. And it just makes me think like, have you ever taken pictures of your wife in the field that she does? Like, Katie is an architectural designer, interior designer. I don't know if you've ever toyed with that idea or she's asked you for that or it's never come up. But like, have you ever gone down that road of like, man, I have a beautiful wife who has a great career, who this is like the perfect person to like maybe every now and then revamp and come up with a headshot or more importantly, an environmental portrait?
Yeah, I've taken like 2 headshots of her, but they're very boring. She just needed them for very specific reasons. Like, oh, we got to put it on the company's website or whatever. But I've never gone to a mall that she's designed and placed her there, and that would be a cool idea. The thing with Katie is she's very bad at getting motivated and like going out there and getting more work. You know, she's worked for the same company for 20 years now, and so I think she would just go like, why would I want this photo? I have no need to promote myself or anything. So I haven't, but that is a good idea.
I wonder if David's done that. Like, he's probably shot Ryan doing different things, but
you're right. I haven't seen like a really high end planned out.
Yeah, and I mean, her career is crazy. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But
are you ready to rate this?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. 3 stars. Okay, so 2 things bother me right off the bat. One is the vertical line on the left side of the shot.
Yep.
You got it. Just grab that in Photoshop and just, where's my hands? Just do that. Pull it out. Make those vertical lines on those glass doors straight. If that morphs the subject, then just mask it out and just fake it, you know? Like, just warp just the left side of the frame and leave her on the right so that she doesn't get warped. And then the other thing that bothers me is I feel like the lighting and the posing and everything is so good. I love the glasses and the books. Like, it's so good. But just, she feels super uncomfortable and unhappy to me.
Kind of the deer in the headlights look?
Yeah,
is that what
like I want just a hint. I don't want some big goofy cheesy smile with teeth, but just a hint of a smile, or have her looking down at her hand on the book and just kind of reading or something. That would make a little more sense why she would have the resting bitch face or whatever. But when you make eye contact with a camera and then you have the dead face, it just feels a little uncomfortable to me. Yeah. Unless you're trying to be the tough, scary-looking guy. But she's not. She's like a beautiful, successful woman who's, I don't know if this is a story about her or this would go on the back of one of her books or something, but I just want just a little bit more inviting attitude from her.
I can see that. My eye keeps going to the reflection in the line that you find not vertical enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you could just take a picture with the lights off and get that sky and, drag the shutter so that you get more of the city lights back there. Part of me, like, I love the colors of this. It's like the color on her matches the tones throughout.
Yeah.
The exterior lights and everything's got like a mood, and nothing screams flash photography. It kind of all sits in the right color space. I just wonder, like, is this couch too large? And like the right-hand side of the frame, it's like her daughter's stuff is over here. I keep thinking, like, could you crop in tighter? But every time I crop in a little tighter, I lose the books on the bottom. So then I just feel like...
I feel like those books on the bottom might be a little too cluttered. I think I like the green one and I like the glasses. The other ones, I don't know if that's as necessary.
There's something here, though. Like, I really do like this image.
Yeah. It's really nice. It's really nice. I just want just a little smile, a little smirk. Give me something.
Well, that's the final image.
Send me a private message on fstoppers.com and let me know which free tutorial you would like. And once again, head over to fstoppers.com/contest right now. Upload your exciting wedding photos.
I feel like very soon we are going to have our last episode.
Oh, you're right.
Here.
We got to tear down this whole set.
And we don't know yet if you're staying here. like I just bought a house in Palmas.
Yeah.
So I am definitely here at least half the year.
In
Puerto Rico for the next couple years. Like I don't really know yet, but that was a pretty big leap that I just did.
Yep.
And I bought a house that luckily has a garage that I could turn. Like the studio space is like a 3-car garage. It's like 1 spot, 2 spot, 3 spot, and then maybe a little bit more. So I feel like I just have a 2-car garage, which is enough to put this space in, but I got to get air conditioning in it and close it off. And then I have another like bonus room that could be a shootable space. So I think my house has enough room to do work out of, but it also has some upgrades and stuff that I want to do before I move into it. So I feel like I didn't mean to, I closed on this house Friday. I did not mean to buy a house and close on it the week before the wedding. Talk about a whole extra level of stress. I feel like I've been more stressed out in my life than I've ever been. But I don't know. I know we have to break all this down pretty soon, and the new guy's moving in, and we have decided to get out before Thanksgiving. I think is the
December 1st. We got to be out of here.
But we'll probably be out before then. Like no one wants to be here for a holiday packing up. So we're beginning of October. So like we have maybe like 30 to 40 days left before we have to figure out what we're doing with all of this stuff.
It's so crazy.
And then we have another studio back in Charleston that just got done that we could go back to and kind of revamp that. That needs to get done. So a lot of moving parts and a lot of opportunities and a lot of options. But you don't have a house at the moment.
I go back and forth so much in my mind where I'm like, I just should move back to the States and be done with Puerto Rico. And then another part of me is like, no, I should just buy a cheap house here that I hate and just suck it up because the tax savings are good. And then another part of me is like, no, I should buy a piece of land and build a badass house here. And then, you know, like the tax contract that we signed with the government was good for 20 years. We've been here 3. So I could do this for another 17 years.
Or just another 5 or another 10 or whatever. I mean, if you build a house,
build a house will probably
that's
take
going to
3
take 3 years.
Yeah.
But I was just talking to a guy who's from Alabama, of all places, and he was like, I bought my house for $400,000, about to sell it. He says he got it appraised. He thinks it's $5 million. Now, he put $1 million into it, so 1.4 is his all-in number. But I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's crazy to think that like, in his house, I haven't been in his house. Maybe you have. It's probably nice, but it's not like when you think of a $5 million house, you think of something in Beverly Hills, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. His house,
I would think his house last year would have been worth $1.5 to $2 million, and now it's worth $5.
But if you could buy land and build a house, even if it took 3 years, and the time and the money is the question. If you could build a house here for what, 1, 2 million, knowing that it could be worth 4 million, 5 million.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, even if you don't have the cash, you'd be foolish not to build something for $2 million, knowing that it's worth 5.
Yeah, but
that's like
the world is insane right now. It makes no sense. I mean, if he bought his house for $400,000, it could go back to that price.
But that also means every house on the street is like blown out windows, leaky, like water, no power, abandoned for years. Like that's what a $400,000 house in this neighborhood
Okay,
looks
well,
like.
let's say his house could go back then to $1.5 million or whatever.
Yeah. But that could be the all-in for buying the land.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is I could have bought this house for 1.2, and this house is gigantic. It's just not like the design of it I don't love, but I just wonder, could I build a house all in for 1.2? It probably wouldn't be as grand as this house, but it would be nicer for me. Like it would be a more modern design house.
Yeah.
And then I'd have the option to either live in it or just sell it when it was finished and make profit. I don't know. I am so freaking convinced
but
the world is about to be on fire.
But that's why I want to stay in Puerto Rico, is I feel like America is about to we're all about to go through the reckoning of COVID. We have not seen the fallout from the housing crisis, from unemployment, from printing money, from now passing infrastructure bills, to our country being divided politically. Like there is so much craziness that's happened that we have not really even dealt with yet, that I'm like, man, I kind of want to just sit back, stay on this island. I'm losing the view. I would say sit back and enjoy the view. I'm losing the beautiful view. But like that's kind of the reason I don't want to give up on Puerto Rico yet, is because I feel like You know, it might be even crazier stateside soon. And but if you decide to buy land and build,
Yeah.
you still need another place to live here. You have to rent somewhere, right? What are you going to do? Like, because you have to be on the island, and you definitely want to.
I don't know if I have to
You
be on
definitely
the island.
want to be overlooking the construction. I mean, I just did a renovation in Charleston. I wasn't there. I was here. It was.
And it went fine.
It went fine because I had a great contractor and I had security cameras and I had you and David to check in and send me pictures. But there's times when like the sheetrock went up and I wanted pictures of every wire. I wanted to know where every wire was, every outlet. If I need to drill into the wall, I want to know where, you know, different pieces of wood are, all the plumbing. Here in Puerto Rico, you're going to want to check in on your house every 2 weeks, if not every day. So the idea of just like telling somebody, hey, go build a house on a cliffside, I'm going to be in the States for 2 years.
I just feel like if it takes 3 years to build a house, there's plenty of time to fly in and like check how things are going and then fly back for 6 months.
But if it's built out of concrete and all of a sudden your perfect design has like problems in it and they put a wall or they put a bathroom, you know, they put the drain for the toilet like in the middle of the room and you catch that 5 months later, that could be disastrous. It's not like, oh, just cut the wood, rip the floor up, and redo the drain.
Yeah.
It's like jackhammer through the concrete.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think you're going to want to be here and overlook it, and you're going to want to see the work being done. And if work's not getting done, you're going to want to know about that too. And you're going to want to push people, fire people, and hire new people.
Yeah.
If you come back and you're like, whoa, we're way behind schedule, and I've just wasted 4 months and I didn't know, that's going to be awful.
Yeah. It's such a weird psychological thing that's going on right now, you know, where you seem pretty happy to just be here for another couple of years and then you're like, you're done with Puerto Rico.
Maybe.
And you're not
we'll
going
see.
to come back.
I have to say, Puerto Rico is very frustrating, but elements of it are. But every year, I feel like as more people move into the neighborhood, I am meeting more and more. COVID was weird. Went a whole year without meeting anybody. But now I feel like there's more people here. There's more activities to do. There's more entrepreneurs. I haven't really taken advantage of that the couple years we've been here. I just think it's getting better and better every single year. There's still the craziness, you know, with the way the governments and stuff run here. But I don't know, it hasn't been that bad. I feel like I liked it a lot less than you did. I feel like you and Katie loved it here. So it's weird to flip to where like I'm the first one to buy a house and you guys are already like potentially giving up on it. When I feel like I would have bet money a year or two ago that I would give up before you.
Absolutely.
And then now, you know, tables have kind of turned. But
well, especially, and I think a big part of it for me is just the incredible price increase of these homes that we do.
But it's happened in the States. It's happened everywhere.
Yeah.
The cost of homes is insane
you know,
right now.
like I don't want to
buy at the top.
panic buy. Like, oh my gosh, everything's doubled in price. Well, I better buy now before it triples in price.
Yeah.
That's what everybody does before a big crash happens. And then you go like, man, look at these dummies who bought houses in 2008 because they thought the housing prices could never go down.
What happens in the rental market? Because rentals have exploded too. I mean, this place we're renting for $5,000, which is a steal because there's really 3 entities, you, me, and our business renting it. But even if it was just the 2 of us, $2,500 to live in a mansion, even with a roommate, it's like the deal of a lifetime.
Yeah.
But let's say this rent now is $10,000, $15,000.
I think it's probably 15 to 20 grand.
15 to 20 grand is what it would be market value now. What happens when you say, I want to rent, and then everything collapses? Do you go back to your landlord and say, I want this place? Can you lower your rent? Does it ever work that way?
Sure, it lowers that way. You just say like, hey, there's another house that's comparable to yours down the road for $5,000. I'm moving over there, or if you match it, I'll stay.
Because all I'm saying is if you don't buy because the prices are too high, the rent is also at all-time highs.
That's a great point.
Do you pay, like this is the problem we've had, is you pay $5,000 to live in a 2-bedroom with no view and no garage and no pool and nothing.
That's 60 grand a year you're losing.
60 grand a year and you've lowered the cost of your lifestyle by a lot.
Yep.
Like that's a hard pill to swallow too.
I know.
And I just got to the point where I was like, I know I'm not buying an amazing house, but at least I'm saving my rent. And if I want to paint the house, if I want to install a bookcase and, you know, put speakers or whatever I want to do, it's now my place to do it. And having been a homeowner before, I know there's a lot of headaches with owning a house. It's kind of nice here when you see something leaking. You're just kind of like, well, tell her about it, but I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious to see how it plays out, but I also am excited to be getting married and kind of starting this life in a new place. Like, I'm sad to see our roommate status go, and I've enjoyed living with you guys, but it's like, this is a new beginning, and it feels good to have the dog and be married and have the house, and I'm kind of trying to embrace a whole new start, but it's also hectic because I'm like, what are we going to be doing? Especially if you're not here, what does content look like? And, you know, there's so many moving parts that it makes it really complicated, but
it does. I don't know, but I'm meeting with a builder tomorrow, so we shall see. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I think we're going into San Juan tomorrow to take a second engagement shoot with you because
we didn't have the
guys
dog.
Are insane,
and we have a video we gotta make, so we
got a video we gotta make. So yeah, stay tuned for that video, and we'll see you guys soon.